I've worked in law firms for most of my career, so I'm excited to be here to share our approach to AI and automation, as well as a couple of different ways that you can leverage AI with your content. So I hope you're excited to learn a little bit more, and let's dive right in. Before I start showing you the solutions, I'd really like to share our philosophy around what we mean when we say an intelligent DMS. It has three key principles, and I think this is a good way for you to be thinking as you're looking at solutions to choose. So the first is bringing AI to your content, not your content to AI. And this is something that really started to hit home for our customers who were counting up the number of individual point solutions and tallying up the cumulative cost of that approach, not to mention the disruption that's caused to user workflows that have to be addressed via integrations or APIs when you're having to bounce from software to software, and moving content between platforms, all of which introduce additional security concerns, of course, and more to manage. Our second philosophy is that AI should kind of sit on top of your knowledge like a lens. So instead of users looking for answers all the time, the answers should start to find them. But finding answers really isn't enough. You need to do something with those answers, which is where automation comes in, turning those answers into actions by weaving them into automated workflows that you can deploy at scale. And we do this with our suite of AI solutions called ndMAX. That's our overarching concept for all of the AI solutions that we've built and are continuing to build. But because there isn't just one way to leverage AI. So about a year ago, we introduced the ndMAX concept and PatternBuilder MAX, which was our first GenAI product to launch. And that brought the ability to incorporate GenAI prompts into our PatternBuilder low-code workflow automation tool. And PatternBuilder MAX is already our most successful new product launch by a factor of 10. And as folks continue to explore how to leverage AI capabilities in legal, PatternBuilder MAX has continued to receive accolades for how it works, combining automation with GenAI. What's most exciting to us is how much value our customers are already getting from it. In total, we have over 44,000 users spread across the globe. And so far, those customers have created over 9,000 apps with roughly 30 new apps built per week. And they're addressing high-value use cases specific to their own practices with these apps, which is really exciting. And then we continue to develop our app builder that's powered by PatternBuilder and our pre-built AI-powered apps to deliver that day one value. We will soon go beyond the foundational capabilities that we built out, like extract and summarize and compare and draft in those initial studio apps. And we're going to apply those capabilities to specific high-value legal use cases like lease reviews as new capabilities that we call legal apps. And we're still continuing to build on that. We're also going to be adding a new capability that will unlock even more possibilities, and that is background apps. What are background apps, you might ask? That's the ability to trigger an app automatically through various actions that you take inside of NetDocuments. And so there's that broad spectrum of ways to engage with AI. And NetDocuments started by bringing the prompts into our workflow automation tool so customers could build AI-powered apps. The other way to engage AI is to leverage it throughout your day-to-day workflows to gain insight and quick answers. And that's why in December, we introduced our ndMAX Legal AI Assistant. It's a simple and secure way to leverage AI in your daily work that you're doing. While speaking with law firms and corporate legal departments, we were hearing things like, my lawyers just want an easy and secure way to leverage AI while we create a more comprehensive strategy. Or we don't really have the budget or resources to build apps, but we still want to leverage AI. Or I just need to get information quickly from my documents, a way to answer the wide variety of specific one-off questions that we have continuously. So we get it. So consider how many times a day every single person in your organization has a question where the answer lives in a document, or maybe several or even 100 documents. So today they have to go and find those documents. They have to open each and every one, and then they have to manually scan or use some crazy find and replace scheme to locate the answer, and then finally articulate that answer in the needed context. Maybe it's an email to a client or a summary or a memo. What if instead of all those hours wasted, they could simply find the document or even 100 documents easily within the NetDocuments workspace and then have a conversation with the contents, quickly getting the answers in a way that could simply be copied and pasted to provide the answers that are needed. So talk about taking the drudgery out of legal work. This is the kind of thing I really wish that I had had when I was still a paralegal working in a firm. So the ndMAX Assistant is exactly that. It is a simple and secure on-ramp to leveraging AI with your everyday work tasks. And so I am going to switch over and show you the application in action so it makes sense for what I am talking about here. So you should be seeing the FreshMart supermarket workspace for the John Doe slip and fall litigation. And while we're showing a litigation application today, there are certainly lots of transactional applications as well. So I am new on the case and needing to get up to speed. So I am going to find the complaint and start there and query those and find out what's being alleged. So I select the documents and then I come over here and click the Ask AI button, which opens up the assistant panel. And it's also going to do something while it's opening that panel. You'll see down here towards the bottom, it says adding two files. What it's actually doing is taking the contents of both of those files, and you'll see it's done. It has semantically indexed the text within those documents so that I can semantically search inside the documents. And what that means is it has built kind of a 3D model of the language in those documents. So it understands the context and meaning behind the language. So I can now have a natural search. So I can say, please tell me what the plaintiff is alleging and what damages he is seeking. So it's going to go and look at the semantic index of those two documents and give me a summary of what it found. Now, I put my query in very generally. I could have been much more specific and asked for a format that I wanted, but it's told me that he's alleged that he slipped and fell. There was a spill of water and vegetable debris. It was a hazardous condition, and that he has serious injuries, a fractured wrist, sprained ankle, contusions, and he's seeking damages in excess of $75,000. So that's easy. Now I want to do something a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to go and look at the medical information in the case. And I could go specifically to the folder, but I can also just type medical. It's going to bring up all of the things that have to do with medical because they've got medical in the title. I'm going to select those documents again, ask AI. It's going to load those up. And then I can ask it, please list the plaintiff's injuries and treatment he has received. So my files are now indexed, so I can quickly ask. And it's looking across all of those. And you can see these are not small documents. We've got deposition transcripts and medical records. So it's giving me what the specific injuries are and what his specific treatments were. So an emergency room treatment, orthopedic consultation, and physical therapy. And so I want to point out a few things at this point. So I had 5 documents selected there, and you'll see these little numbers after each of the items. That's letting me know which specific document that information came from. And I can continue to have a conversation with these same documents. These are also maintained in my history. So I've got those here. I can name those threads and I can come back to them because they are maintained for 60 days from the time that I had my last conversation. I can also delete a thread if I want to from my history. So I'm going to do a couple more things that are a little bit more impressive, I think. All right, come on here. I'm going to go back to my main folder. This time I'm just going to go over to my discovery and open up all of the depositions for this case. So all of the deposition transcripts. Select all of those because this is where the witness testimony lies. And so I can ask some specific questions about the testimony in the case. So please list the discrepancies between the witness testimony. And if you do make typos, you don't have to correct them. It actually will pick those up. So it's looking at all of those depositions, and it's now given me, here are some of the discrepancies. First of all, the presence of the wet floor sign, and it tells me which witness said different things. And then the condition and cleanliness of the produce section and what witness said what, and the employee presence before and after the incident. And down here at the bottom, I've got a copy button, so I could copy this and take and put it into an email or summary, anything that I need to. Now I can ask it to give me a timeline of events based on the witness testimony. And you will have to scroll up. So it's looking at all those. So think about how much time it would take me as a human to go and look at all of those. One of the banes of my existence when I was a paralegal working in litigation was having to do deposition summaries and create timelines from them. And so it's giving me before the incident, 5 to 10 minutes prior, just before, 1 to 2 minutes prior, and then at the time of the fall, and then immediately after. And it's got nice summaries of each of those individual testimonies. Now, that's one way to leverage AI. The other is via apps. So that's going to give you those quick one-off answers to things. But if I wanted that timeline to be done in a specific way, I could use one of our specific apps that is designed to do just that. So let me go over to, oh, and that's the backstage view, by the way, where you can go and edit all of those apps because they are all customizable. Why am I not seeing the app that I need? And one of the things that we're going to be adding very soon is an app or is a search function across your apps. So one of the things that that I should point out is I have general apps that are available across the board, across all workspaces, or if I have apps that are specific to a specific type of work. So I want to have my litigation apps available for my litigation matters. Then I've got those apps that are going to be available there, right there with my documents. So I'm going to switch back to my presentation and I'll show you just a little bit more about what you can do specifically with the apps. Because you want to be able to go beyond just asking questions to take action. So with the chatbot, you chat back and forth with the large language model. So that's something like ChatGPT, right? Well, what you just saw with the assistant was actually an agent. And most people have focused on the large language model and its capabilities, but really the AI orchestrator is what makes those agents much more powerful than chatbots. So you'll hear the term agent assistant used interchangeably, and they're capable of doing things and leveraging additional information via the AI orchestrator. So it's able to tap into other sources of information to work with the foundational model, such as user data, business data, and even the memory of prior prompts and chats, like what we saw in the demo with the assistant, leveraging the document content to provide answers. And then also, LLMs are only good at certain things, but you can add other skills and vastly extend the capabilities of the LLM by connecting it to other agents that have specialized tools and even workflow systems like our PatternBuilder MAX app builder. And this greatly increases the capabilities of the assistant. And that's when GenAI gets really exciting. So you can see that answers aren't all the assistant will provide. Very soon, we're going to connect our assistant with the apps that are built using the app builder. And one of the tools that's going to become available to that is the ability to automatically edit a document and apply red lines. which is a capability coming soon. So I could ask the assistant to mark up the document and be able to accept or reject those markups instead of just giving me the text output. And this is where assistants combined with automation really start to shine. In an agent-to-agent world, Microsoft Copilot is going to triage queries and pass them to specialized agents designed for specific purposes. So things like legal research and billing and e-discovery. And the more tools that you have to support specific workflows, the more impactful the experience is going to be. So just to be clear, the AI assistant is actually two things. First is the functionality that I showed you, but the second part is the Microsoft Copilot integration that's going to be coming very soon. Of course, that's only going to work for those who have already invested in Microsoft Copilot. And then another development that we are continuing in our expansion of the ndMAX ecosystem is we're going to be releasing semantic search. So I described that the assistant was, when it said it was loading those files, it was semantically indexing those in the demo. Well, when we get it fully released across the platform, all of the documents will be semantically indexed already. And so there won't be any waiting period at all. And we're going to be able to connect the assistant and the apps to those indexes. And so it's going to enable faster searching and even more enriched results. So this is NetDocuments' vision for intelligent document management. You might create a workspace, add or generate a new document, or simply file an email. And then all of those actions can trigger apps to run, extracting specific terms, creating a summary, adding events to a chronology, or even sending emails. So rather than you having to manually initiate an app, simply by engaging in the document management system, those are triggered. And work gets completed, your knowledge expands, and the system gets even smarter. So let's talk about this. What questions do you have for me? What things were interesting to you that you saw? I know it's late in the day for many of you.
Yeah, if you've got some questions, it'd be great to get a couple through for Michelle. You've got an expert on the call when it comes to AI, so it's a good opportunity for you to grill her a little bit. There's a couple in the chat there, Michelle.
Yeah, so one person. So one of the common questions I know Rachel put in is how many documents can the assistant query at one time? Up to 100. I only showed it querying across a few, but you can do up to 100 at this time. And we're hoping as capabilities continue to expand, that gets even more. And then someone asks, can the answers to a search be further searched, and is the search limited to Word documents? The answers can be further searched. So I can continue to have conversations and go deeper and ask it, why did you say this? And what other information do you have about that? Anything like that, I can continue that conversation. And then someone says, I'm a happy customer. Am I right that adding these products to our existing platform is not difficult? No, it is not. It is a flip of a switch and then adding a group that has rights to the assistant, because we figure you might want to test with a small group of people before you throw it open wide, or you may want to have conversations with people. One of the things I talk about a lot is that not everybody is a prompt engineer. That is a skill that you develop over time. And not everybody understands how these products should be used. As we've seen with people ending up in the news because they think that ChatGPT is a legal research tool. So I think a small amount of training in expectations and things like that, it will go a long way to keeping people within the guardrails. And we always say, keep the human in the loop. You'll see on everything we do, we say this was generated by AI. Be sure that you check the results. But when you're anchoring content to your documents and what's in your documents, it is extraordinarily accurate because you're giving it kind of those boundaries. You're not saying, go out across the LLM and tell me everything. Yeah, so we have done extensive testing. And what makes those extraordinarily accurate is we're telling it, tell me what's in these specific documents. And so it's not hallucinating because it knows only to look at what is specifically in those documents. And so the results, you'll hear those called one-shot efforts. And so, yeah, I don't know how to explain it any other way than to say you're bounding it with the contents of those documents.
I'd just like to say, Rich Harris, we just said literally asked the same question at the same time. So it looks
Right.
like we're sat next to each other, but I can clarify that we are not. We're in separate countries. But that is so weird. Who else we got on the call that wants to ask a few questions to Michelle? Come on, you all must be quite curious about this stuff, trying to streamline your own practice. But obviously, there's still a bit of fear about utilizing tools like this. So generally, what nerves you? Is it the accuracy of the product itself, or not being able to deliver a good service, or putting yourself out of a job? I don't know. Like, Michael, you got anything you want to ask?
No, but you hit the nail on the head there. I was just scared about how far it goes into your own systems and the misinformation that sometimes comes, well, often comes out of the other AI products that we've tested. So it is a bit scary to jump into this, though I thought it was really great where you can ask a question and then it will go through the search and find the discrepancies between witness statements. But yeah, it's just scary, to be honest.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't have a question really other than how far is it getting there and how accurate is it, which I think other people have said. But
Yeah, and I know one of the scary things is, well, you're applying AI to now my content, my expertise, and my intellectual property. And so we have been kind of at the forefront and have asked for some concessions that a lot of vendors have not. And specifically, if you're dealing with vendors that don't understand legal practice and the types of content that you handle, that can be a problem. So we work with Microsoft Azure OpenAI as our backend LLM, although we have built our platform to be model agnostic, as we say. And so you are able to pick the different models from Azure OpenAI that are most suited for the function that you're doing. And as new models come out, those are made available. And there may be something that comes out that's better than Microsoft Azure OpenAI. And so that's why we've constructed our platform in that way, because it is such new technology, even though it's been out now for 2 years, but it's changing pretty rapidly. One of the specific exclusions that we got from them, so no inputs or outputs are maintained by them. They are not seeing the index of the documents that's created. That is maintained in our highly secure system. It is just used to connect and ask questions of. So that never leaves our system, the index of the contents. And then the other thing that's really important, that's an exclusion that we got from them, was their sensitive content reviewers. Because a lot of the things that law firms handle are going to have trigger words in them that might trigger that abuse monitoring or those sensitive content reviews by either humans or machines. And so we specifically got an exclusion from those. So you don't have to worry that because you're asking about a rape case or something like that, or some sensitive financial information, that someone at Microsoft, that's going to trigger and they're going to review it. On our platform, that's not going to happen. So that's an important thing to ask vendors as you're looking at AI products is, how is the data being shared with the LLM? What's being maintained? And then is it going to trigger those sensitive content reviews?
Thank you.
Has anybody had any bad experiences of actually using AI on casework? Like, has anything actually gone wrong for you? I'd just be intrigued to know if anybody's had any negative experiences. Sometimes it's down to, I suppose it's still in the early days of the development of some of the products out there. Which you have.
No, but fortunately, because I've double checked stuff,
Mm.
I've gotten hallucinations. They've been dead wrong. They've cited wrong statutes. They've hallucinated case names. I double check everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say one of the big components of getting accurate things is having it connected to the right content. Because it wants to be that helpful, eager assistant, and so if you're using something that's not connected to a database of case statutes and the laws and has been properly, set up to perform those queries in the right way. And there are queries on the back end of this where we've set it up so that it's told you use the content of these documents, don't be going and making stuff up, and also adjusting the temperature. So when you make queries, there's a temperature, and for legal work, you pretty much have to put it down to 0, which means do not be creative in your answers at all. Otherwise, we get creativity and hallucinations and made up answers.
Michelle, can you explain that a little more? What do you mean by temperature?
So when you do a query on the back end, there are settings. So what specific model do you want to use for your query? Because we started at like ChatGPT 3 and then 4, and we're up to, I think, 4.0 mini. And then they just released a new research tool, but that's more for internet research. I would not consider that for legal research. But the other thing on the query is there's a little scale for temperature. And so it runs, I think, from 0 to 5, 5 being get creative. So if I were brainstorming for blog post ideas or social media posts or something like that, or maybe some marketing, then I might want to use a 5. But if I'm doing something where I want concrete factual data, that's always going to be set to 0 because that tells the model, don't get creative here. And in our apps, when you're creating the apps, that is one of the things that you can set.